All right, welcome to another episode of Armchair CMOs. It's your boy V Moss here with Jules. Jules, what's up?
How's it going, Vaughn? You, you finally used to be boss like normal, and then it threw me off. Um, oh my God, here we are. Welcome back. It is Wednesday, January 22nd. We are 2 days out from the presidential inauguration,
Why are you talking about that? That has nothing to do
and
with what we're talking about. That's so unnecessary to bring up. Don't, why are you
five,
bringing extra stress into
five,
your life? You are
like global news. I just am giving a frame of reference for where we're coming from. Uh, 5 days out from the launch of Unrivaled. In 3 days is like the planetary alignment or whatever that's happening on the 25th. So here we are.
let's, okay, well, let's just get started. We Jules
We're
is
Go ahead.
Jules is rambling. So we're gonna try a new format today. This is Jules' idea. So if you don't like it, you can comment and say, Jules, this is a terrible idea. But I don't think it's gonna be good. I do think it's gonna be good. I don't think it's gonna be bad. We're both in rare form today, so just bear with us. But we're gonna get through it because we got some cool stuff to talk about. So
We're
win
gonna get it together.
for today, winners, Jules,
Okay.
who
So winners. Um, okay, the first winner that I want to mention today is Ferrari and the rollout of like Lewis Hamilton joining the team. This was announced, I think, on New Year's Day. And on New Year's Day, they started releasing some content, both on like Lewis Hamilton probably made a post and it might have been collabed with Ferrari, but Ferrari started releasing videos. There was a series of videos, maybe like one a week or so, where they started kind of like building this brand up of Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton, both as being like the Ferrari team. So it wasn't entirely about Lewis Hamilton, which is one reason why I think this is a winner because it was like mentioning in them both. But more broadly, the I don't know, the vibe, the character, the energy of these videos felt very Ferrari. It felt really on brand. It was like subtle, it was classy. They like really let just like the caliber of the two names they have on the team do the talking. Like they didn't do too much. Um, I don't know. Like I felt like it was all really well done, really spoke to the Ferrari brand, like really put the athletes in a good light and like centered on the athletes, I think maybe more than anything. I want to see what else I wanted to say. Oh, and then in the last few days, they also started a series of content about Lewis's first day at Ferrari. Which I guess would just be like he gets to the factory and drives the car for the first time, all this stuff. But they show this, like there's a lot of content about him coming into the factory and meeting people, and then they made a bunch of videos about like his first lap in the car. So just a lot of like cool content. I think they're making a big deal out of the right things. It felt very on brand. So I think that they're the winner of this week, although also all of January.
yeah, I thought it was cool the stuff that I did see and read about it. I mean, obviously, it's a big deal for the cultural history of a brand like Ferrari, but also, a personality like Hamilton, who's, you know, he has the superstardom off of the track, which I think is important. Um, he's into the fashion, we talked about before a couple episodes ago in the beginning about him being part of that Met Gala group. That's what's the term for it? They're organizing,
Co-chairs.
yeah, the
The
coach
co-chairs. Yeah.
LeBron and Pharrell, which is cool. But the other part of it that I think is important to note is and the reason why we love this for the simplicity and for like the branding of it, because the brand is so historic and the brand is so culturally relevant. But you can lean on that, especially in moments like this. You have to lean on that because apparently they haven't been good since they haven't like really, really won since 2007. So, that's why this is a big moment. But you're not saying it's not like he's coming to a winning team and it's just like, oh, we're gonna keep winning. It's like, this is a moment because someone who has their own superstardom is coming to a high level like legacy brand to help revive it. But like let's also make sure that we show off the history and tradition that the brand has as we hopefully usher in this new era. And then Leclerc being the younger guy who's going to hopefully take it and take it further after Hamilton, whenever that time comes. I think it's part of the story as well. But I think overall, I thought it's very well done considering the circumstances, right? Like considering the circumstances of who's involved, the brand as Ferrari as a brand, and then also personal brand of Hamilton, and then kind of telling that story to get people excited about it when they haven't had the success on the track like they want. But hopefully, it's coming.
Yeah, agreed. It's been very cool. Um, I want to list an honorable mention here for winners. I feel like I have to mention the Under Armour ad with Shane Gillis that came out ahead of the college football championship game. He's in a church and he's like praying to God that Notre Dame wins the championship. It's really funny. It's really well done. I think it's been a long time since we had like a genuinely funny ad. They're all trying to be funny and they usually fail. So this is an honorable mention as a winner for me, also because I think Notre Dame is like by far the biggest brand that Under Armour has, unless I'm like missing somebody massive. And they also did it like at least the post I saw was collab with Under Armour football specifically, which I think was also smart. Like they're just building up that specific segment with this ad. So I had to at least mention this today.
Yeah. I think Jordan Rogers said that the two teams that play in the CFP championship were like the number two teams in the rosters of Nike.
Oh,
And
okay.
I'm for sure because he was making it a point to compare it, like they're only behind the legacy schools of the owners, of the founders, right? So like the top
Um,
Armour brand is Maryland because that's Kevin Plank's school, alma mater, and then the top Nike school is Uncle
or
Phil's, or
Oregon, yeah.
right? So we should look that up so I'm not wrong.
What? No, you're right on both of those.
So he said that they're number two though. I know that those are right, but like is Ohio
I
State
mean,
one and
I don't
two?
know. I think that Notre Dame's a bigger brand than Maryland.
No, but I think his point was in terms of how much money they spend on it.
That I don't know.
Let me go look and see if we can find this Jordan Rogers clip. Because I don't want to be wrong. Because all right, here we go. So Nike shorts. Damn, where's the video at, Jordan Rogers? It's not on his YouTube.
You want me to try to find that?
Um, check it. Can you look at it on Instagram?
Yeah,
I can't pull it up on my phone because I'm using the phone for the camera.
but I'm just gonna have to like sit here and wait for it to play. Second biggest investments, what he says. Second biggest investments for both of these teams. The first, of course, is the alma mater of the founders.
He said that in the video that those two schools are number two. Hey,
Yeah.
come on, man. Cool. So good point. It's great.
Okay. Are we ready to move on to losers of the week?
Let's do it.
Okay. So my number one loser of the week is the Australian Open. Um, I've been watching a ton of tennis this week. That's why like I feel like I kind of missed out on a bunch of other stuff, but I'm so excited to have like majors back. Um, so I've been watching a lot of tennis and I've been seeing basically all of the Australian Open's mistakes. Um, they, as like every major does during the tournament, they're posting a ton on social media. I would argue like potentially too much. Um, but not even like that, not even being the primary problem. Um, the content that they're putting out is like the only way I know how to describe it is weird. And this is in comparison to like the US Open and Wimbledon, like do the same thing. They put out a ton of content, but the content, like having seen how great that content can be, like it's so well done. It's like really engaging. It's really interesting. They're like hitting on a bunch of different angles of like performance, the social, the fashion. Like this is so bad. Um, the number one like thing that I say, the number one reason that I want to say this is they like every day are posting a reel of Ben Shelton that's like really thirsty, and it's so weird. Like we're sick of people like sexualizing women. Like let's not do it to like 20-year-old boys either. Like it's really weird. That's the only way I know how to describe it. Like the admin is just thirsty for Ben and they're turning it into like their personal account and it's really weird. So that's like my number one issue with the Australian Open. The other thing, which I'm not the only one who thinks this, and speaking of Ben Shelton, like he actually called it out publicly, like in a press conference, and said, "Hey, like the media, the broadcasting has not been great." And probably the most known thing about this is, I want to make sure I have his name right. That one of the like prime broadcasters, Jim Courier, was like doing a post-match interview or like some in-between match broadcast or something like that. And there's a bunch of Novak Djokovic fans behind him, like chanting, and he kind of mocked them. Like he not kind of mocked them, he fully mocked them. He was like mimicking the chant and was like saying stuff like Novak sucks, I hope he loses, or like something like that. And that like made pretty big news because obviously it's like extremely inappropriate to do in a live broadcast. And then Novak refused to do a post match interview in the next game, like match he played in because of that like slight. He was like waiting for a public apology before he was willing to do any interviews. And that was kind of the biggest one, which like clearly was just like poor judgment. But I haven't seen any responses from the Australian Open or the broadcasters who are like handling the Australian Open. Um, but also, like every single post-match interview, like I mentioned, has been a little bit weird. It's been a little bit intrusive, a little bit too personal, like a little bit awkward.
Hmm.
They're all so weird. So as a theme, weird, inappropriate, poorly done, like just so bad. And the fact that one of the players felt the need to like call it out during press conference to me just like says how egregious it actually is. And there's four majors, like there's four Grand Slams a year. And so it's like they're a big deal, you know what I mean? And I feel like the Australian Open is like kind of making a joke of themselves by doing all of this weird stuff. Like I think they're trying to be cheeky and fun the way like other tournaments can be, but they're not doing it well enough. And like personally, if I were a sponsor, I'd be like a little embarrassed to be associated right now. Like they're kind of just making a mockery of themselves.
That's we gave them so much credit last week for low key being kind of innovative, and now it seems like a
Yeah,
shit show.
the streaming.
Yeah,
Right. They got the streaming part right, but or maybe they're trying to be innovative on this too, like in the tone of their media and all of that, but they're just like missing the mark on this one.
yeah.
Um, all
So
right. And then
that's
oh,
also why you're like exhausted. Like you've been staying up until the middle of the night watching Australian Open.
no, I mean do have like matches at like 2:30 in the morning and I haven't been watching those.
Got you.
Um, okay. Honorable mention, one more I need to mention as a loser. Which I know you'll be excited to hear me say because we were texting during it, is Travis Scott's performance during halftime of the college football playoff or the championship game. Um, was it even live?
So random. I didn't like when did anyone announce that it was happening? Like I just happened to turn to the left and watch the TV and he was on the
He was
TV.
on. I saw something like he teased it or something with like some image. He teased it in a few different ways on his Instagram. So I like saw something, but it was never really like announced or confirmed. And then I was watching that game and I got up during halftime. And when I came back, he was like just starting. And I was like, oh, this, like, I forgot that this was happening. And then the performance was not great. it was on the roof, so people who were in attendance were like, we couldn't really see, which is why there's like this theory that it wasn't even live. Um, it was really weird. Like, definitely not worth. I, they probably paid him. I don't know. I feel like it wasn't even worth doing. It was so underwhelming. It was short, it was boring, and I'm not even sure that it was live.
Because first of all, like I always hate in these moments when artists debut new songs. Like nobody
True.
wants to hear your new song when it's a bunch of people at an event that's not a concert for you. Like
True.
we don't care. Like, but according to Complex, it says the song will be available on Friday with proceeds going directly to charity. I guess this is fire charity, direct relief charity.
Mm. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, maybe they didn't pay him. Maybe he like asked to do it as promo or something, but it was really underwhelming. And I feel like, I mean, after Beyonce's halftime performance on the Christmas Day games went so well, and then the LiAngelo Ball tweaker performance at the
Oh,
Lions game, like that got some mixed reviews I saw, but now
Biggest
it just feels
loser.
like
That's a
everyone
much
feels
bigger loser. I should have put that on there. I didn't even think about it. I'm about to. Okay,
well,
let's
well,
talk
you
about
can add it.
it.
You can add it now.
Let's talk about it.
Yeah.
So, man, God bless the marketing people at the Detroit Lions because, man, so one, like, it's a complete clout chase. Like, he's got no connection to the team. He's got no like other than the song just being a viral hit, which is so important. Like this is why culturally like aware people that have cultural understanding need to be in these spaces because you got to understand like okay, the song is a song that people are just listening to, it's going viral, but that doesn't mean that they like it. And they don't mean that also doesn't mean that it's a good song. You have to be able to have that distinction. But like, let's just say that it was a good song. Okay, let's ignore that fact. But then, like, this is his first song. And so you've like, he has no, like, he's only been good at this and not even good. He's only had this one song for like a week and a half. So, like, has he been practicing performing? Like, has he performed the song
That's
anywhere else
true.
before? You want
Like
to put
how
him on the stage of your first playoff game that's mattered. Like, I mean, they've been in the playoffs last year, and I get it. Like, but this is a big
cool.
deal.
Okay, but did you watch it? He for sure had backtrack. Like I'm not sure he was even. I'm not even sure his mic was on.
So just to brag a little bit on myself, just to feel make myself feel good. I didn't see the first half of the game because I was at the symphony. Um,
Okay.
in all seriousness, my one of my friends from Richmond, it was really cool. This is completely off the topic, random, just bragging. Like some friends in Richmond put together a symphony of paying tribute to Black music and film. My friend hosted it, and rapped in it. A childhood friend who is a trained conductor, she conducted it for the first time being back home in Richmond. And her little brother, who I actually like used to go I used to help. I didn't help watch him, but I used to go to the place where he was a babysitter. I used to go there after school to this lady's house. He played guitar, and it was their first time performing together. It was a big deal. But so I missed the first half of the game for a good reason.
That is cool. That's a good reason. That's fair.
But my point is, I saw the clip. And so back to my
Yeah.
rant about like this just seemed like such a reach and an unnecessary reach. Like again, culturally, there's so many people in Detroit's music like lexicon you could pull from instead of you go get Jello who's never performed anywhere that you've seen and you put him out there to do the song that
From
and
from
then
that
you
angle,
lose. Jules, the most important part is then you lose, and it makes it look even worse. Would you have no control over that?
That
But
was not good.
that doesn't help. It makes it look so much worse. Like I feel so bad for them, but also like someone should have been in the room to say, no, this is not a good idea. Like,
Okay, from a slightly less brutal angle, I'm going to be a little bit nicer than you're being. It clearly came together last minute. They weren't planning on having anybody perform at halftime. Because if they did, like you said, they would have pulled some of the way more talented and way more famous people from Detroit. Um, it also was clearly in response to like the virality of the song in the moment.
my point is
Like, I think you might be taking it too seriously. Like,
no, 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 I'm
I
not.
don't think it was like great. Like, I'm not in love with it, but I don't think it was like the dumbest thing they've ever done.
Because I
Which
don't think that it was necessary. I don't
it
think
wasn't necessary, no.
that's
But
my
that's why it was like it took like he like it was like 2 minute performance. Like it was not like they clearly didn't put too much money into it. He was just like walking around the field. Like it just is like I don't know. It was as if like he just said he was gonna be at the game and they're like, oh, wanna come on the field and do the song? Like I think you might be I literally think you might be taking it too seriously.
no, but why would he be at the game? He has like that's my point that there's so many there's no connection that it just inherently makes sense to me. Like I just feel like it was a little bit like cloud chasing is not always bad. Don't get me wrong. I think there's a way to do it and that's strategic and it's like sometimes we can capture a moment because it makes sense, but this just didn't make sense and like you didn't need to do it. Like your team was great. Your team was expected to go to the Super Bowl,
What
maybe.
if the what if the NFL asked them to do it instead of like what if it wasn't the Lions' idea?
It's even worse.
Do you feel bad now though about shitting on the Lions for getting
Well, I
people?
mean, I think like I said God bless them to start, first of all, because I know that there's not like the
Yeah, and
marketing person
anybody from
probably
south of
had
the
no
Mason
choice.
Dixon says God like knows that God bless you is an insult.
No, 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 no. That's not no, I'm saying God bless him because it was a mistake, but I don't know who to blame. But it's gonna fall back on them. As someone who sat in that seat, who's gonna be responsible for that? Like marketing people and be like, yo, this was not good. Like anyway, the critique is not on it just wasn't good. And it was unfortunate. And it was amplified because they lost. And that's
I think I think of the two, I think the Travis Scott is more egregious. I think Travis Scott was so bad. Like LiAngelo Ball, you could think of as just kind of like like funny. Like they're just like, oh, whatever, it's funny. Like the Travis Scott was clearly them trying something and falling flat. Like they really thought they did something with Travis Scott and they really didn't.
but I
That's
think
why to me, like the Travis Scott performance is a bigger loser.
I mean, I see what you're saying. Travis Scott's a bigger artist and was it yeah, it's a bigger stage. It was a championship. But it just like I just feel like the Travis Scott thing, I don't know. They both weren't good. Let's just put it that way. We're talking about
Yeah.
them in the bracket. That's all that matters. Like there doesn't need to be a biggest loser. Let's just say
Okay.
I both missed.
I thought where I thought you were going with that was there doesn't need to be a halftime performance. Like unless they're gonna do it well and do it right, there doesn't need to be a halftime performance.
There's absolutely no need for it at that level. Like, I'd argue as someone who has worked in this business and had to be responsible for booking halftime acts, I think there's almost like no need for it ever. I mean, it depends on who it is and like I could I no I maybe it's because we're both tired and I'm gonna go on another rant and I don't want to do that. Like let's just say like depending, especially at that level, there's not really a need for unless you know it's going to be good and you plan it out. Like, it's got to be amazing.
Yeah, yes. To me, yes. In general, I feel like if you're doing any sort of halftime performance, make it like worth it. Don't half-ass it. Like nothing is better than something half-assed.
Got to be so amazing that people are going to be like, oh man, this was great. I got to see this show in addition to seeing a great game. Or it's like what the Wizards do, which I give them credit for when they used to like get, they'd have like a 90s, 2000 hip hop theme night and then have like Ashanti come or something like that. Like that's cool. Like that's, it'll sell a few tickets and the people that wanted to see that will stay afterwards or see it ahead of time. Like that's cool. Like that's actual marketing. But just getting a halftime thing just to say and like, okay, enough about this. Let's move. So,
Okay, moving on. Our the big thing we wanted to talk about this week outside of our winners and losers segment is Unrivaled, which finally launched. We've been hearing about it for a couple weeks now, and they finally started playing.
yeah, so Unrivaled, for people not familiar, new women's basketball 3-on-3 league started by actual current WNBA players, Nafisa Collier and Brianna Stewart. It's a big deal because it's almost like it's a big deal for a lot of reasons. It's putting together another version of the product that's getting people excited and continuously at different angles, showing areas that the WNBA falls short, right? Like I think that, you know, there's been a lot of talk about some of the amenities that are different. Players are talking about like there's specific things that it's clear that there's certain WNBA franchises that are not committed to the level they need to invest into making sure that there's certain things that the players have to be able to function in a certain way. And that's being given to them. Now, obviously, like we have to be very clear and transparent, right? That this is not the same structure as a league as the WNBA. They're not traveling. They're playing in one arena in Miami. The arena only holds like 1,000 people. So it's like it's very different. But I think the points that they're trying to make is like you can invest in the things that are going to make us have a better experience because we're going to play better. We're going to enjoy it more. And we're going to be better champions and better ambassadors for the league. But into some of the things that we also have talked about in basketball in general, not just in women's basketball, a cool aspect of the league is the fourth quarter scoring. So you play like the first 3 quarters are 7 minutes, and the fourth quarter is 11 points added to the highest score, and that's the target score, which people have seen the Elam ending in the TBT in the summertime. So adding some excitement and like the first
There's a
game.
lot of, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, the first game actually ended that way. It was like close game. I think that was Skylar's team. She hit the game winner, which was cool. So yeah, there's also been some chatter about like I saw some people talking about they thought that the broadcast on TNT was better than the WNBA broadcast on on ESPN. But overall, 300,000 plus average viewers for both the first two games. It's not bad. You think on a Friday night, people are out and about. There's stuff going on. I think what was I doing on Friday? I didn't watch on Friday, but that not because I didn't watch anything. I think it was because I was working on that project that we had. But that's beside the point. There wasn't a
I
lot.
didn't
I
watch.
think there was
There was a
college
lot of stuff this weekend.
Friday night,
I,
right? College basketball's probably
yeah,
the
there's.
better on Friday.
I've had multiple times over the last like 5 days my laptop and the TV on showing different things. There's just like a lot on. So I'm not mad at 300,000.
Yeah, I think that's not bad. Um, but some other important like non-marketing branding topics that are coming up too is just the fact that one, the timing of this is around the collective bargaining agreement. So, the complaints that they're providing to the league about the differences in or the things that they're falling short on, this is another point of reference for them to be able to say, and on Rival, we did X, Y, and Z. And why can't you guys do this? Like they've got, I think I saw that they have like nannies for practice or like stuff like that, which I think is like great idea.
Yeah.
But then the second big thing is there's also a lot of talk about these players recruiting each other for free agency. So
Oh,
kudos.
I saw this.
I think it's just cool to keep. I think in general, I think it's cool that we have the big three leagues, not the big three, because I wouldn't consider WNBA the big three, but football, NFL, and then NBA and WNBA specifically having these off-season leagues or tournaments or whatever that keep people excited about the sport. I mean, WNBA has its Unrivaled league. NBA has got the big three, which is not associated, but it still uses former NBA players, and like I think it has a good enough like entertainment value that people can still watch high level basketball in the summertime. And then obviously the NFL not partnering, but having the UFL have the spring football league. I think it's cool that people have other options and they're not just missing out on their favorite sports when those seasons are over.
Yeah, and we'll see. I mean, this game, like a 3-on-3 is a different game.
Yeah.
And the rules are different, the court is different. Like you might attract like it might not be off-season WNBA fans. It might be a different set of fans too.
I mean,
Um,
again, like we always talk about these teams and leagues got to get creative because people are just they're not bored, but there's just so much other stuff to do and watch. So
I do
entertaining.
one thing I think is so interesting about Unrivaled that I want to mention is like the ownership. Like there's multiple players who are invested in it, which I think is interesting. Coco Gauff's an investor, which I think this is interesting. Like it just points to a larger trend of like athletes owning other athletic entities, which honestly I think is good. Like Tom Brady, part owner of Raiders, and isn't LeBron part owner of something
Soccer team.
like soccer team? Um, I just think like that's it gives me confidence that those teams or leagues, like oh, and like Magic Johnson's a part owner of the Commanders now, right?
Partner on like
Um,
teams.
what?
You partner on like 5 teams.
Yeah, okay. Like I think that's good for the sport and for all of them. And like so that gives me some confidence that Unrivaled like is gonna continue to be like athlete centered with the right amenities and the right way to like pull big names so that they can be successful because it's like athletes who are at the table, like in the rooms where they're making decisions. So I don't know, just wanted to highlight that part that I find interesting about this because I think this is like maybe entirely athlete owned versus Magic Johnson being a part owner or whatever. But you get my point.
Okay. All right, Jules.
All right. Short episode this week, but it's cool stuff happening, interesting conversations. We touched on a lot of like different sports.
And that LiAngelo ball rant was not in the script for today. So
That's good. That's okay. What would like our podcast be without tangential rants?
sorry, not sorry. That's all.
Yeah, that's what we do. It's what we do best. Okay. Thanks, Vaughn. We'll talk next week.
That's it.